developed out. This started with a decision. I want to make that very clear to you. Laura and I, when we sat down and we started to strategize about this, we decided that, we were going to do a different avatar. So, I really do believe, I'll go to the whiteboard here too in a second and start to do that. But I really do believe, as I was talking to Laura today, because we were thrilled. We closed at 1.25 from Joe Radigan, who you always hear me say it if I had a long time. Yep, that's my guy. Well, guess what? He referred me his niece because he's on the past client list, et cetera. And we're in front of him, and I saw him, and they were out running around by themselves, making impetuous decisions. I came in, cleaned up their act, and we just closed in a 1.25 this morning. So that past client strategy certainly has borne fruit multiple times, and there's where it clearly had something to do with the referral. Laura and I are checking to make sure Joe actually was getting the newsletter. We're also making sure, because we know he was in market leader all this time, getting properties. We know that he was on the educational emails. So we know that a lot of things that we did strategically, intentionally brought him in. So as you all know, that originally a better Google ad brought Joe in on the buy side. That's when that was, still working easily. Joe came up here and spent, $865,000 for a waterfront property in the lake. And now we just closed his niece at 1.25, and presuming that the lot that they have listed doesn't sell, we'll get that too. Guys, we're talking already in the barn $55,000 worth of value. And his niece is talking about getting a license and joining us. So, there's a lot of benefit that comes from just being intentional in what we do here. And I just want to capture this moment. I'm 3 minutes late because of that closing and the roots that it has, and birthed from a strategic decision 7 years ago. So oftentimes we're looking for the next tactical idea to implement, and you don't have any patience. Sarah, Corey, and I will, sort of smile. And I think the boys might be on here today too, Tarek and Steve. And they've been awesome clients because they don't know me from the past. They trust me through Sarah. And yet you can see in 12 months time in their business where they've become more strategic, in particular with their telemarketing. Dave, who is Sarah Corey's brother, and he's a BDA, also known as a telemarketer, right? The guy has tripled the amount of business he's been involved in year over year. So he went from like 70,000, affecting about 70,000. Again, he was new in the first year, so you would expect some upside. But the fact that he's come on all the calls, accepted the strategic approach, and everybody's granted him permission to be more strategic. Instead of just being humpful, he's been helpful, right? Instead of just every time thinking, if I don't get the appointment, I'm a failure, he's built a pipeline. And so he tripled the amount of business he was able to affect in that business, right? It's stunning, isn't it? And so, and Sarah, you could probably weigh in on this for me because I can't remember the exact number, but the amount of business that was affected by telemarketing in a better strategic way is up big, right? And they don't have a huge staff. And now they've brought on a real expert. And I say that only because Sarah, the other Sarah on the team, comes from somewhere else. And she's about to open up, like we did, a whole brand new lane of business so she's the equivalent of what Autumn is doing for us. That's a whole new lane of business development. And I say whole new lane. We've had telemarketers over the years. Some have been extremely effective, like Autumn, Jack McCluskey in particular, but we have never thought strategically about having that person sit, follow a better strategy to go after the obvious things in this industry because we thought tactically. And we explained it away. And I still am up against this because you asked me today, what do you think the resistance is for all the mastermind members that just don't do this kind of stuff once we discover it? And my answer to you is very simply put, it is the way we were born. It is the way we were born. So that when you are born with this ability to survive, that you are tactical. Like if you think about this in the context of our model, you are born a technician. A tactician. That's what you're born. You're born to survive. You're born to go get, bring home, eat, go get, bring home, eat. It's just the way you're wired. So it's not, you asked me a really important question because I think a lot of people start to get too esoteric with it and start to talk about DISC personality profiling and all that sort of thing, or background and how did you grow up and how did your parents treat you, et cetera. I'm not saying that doesn't matter tremendously to put new burdens on you. But I'm saying at the very base level as business people, Why don't we think more strategically? I can give you the simplest answer that I have found so far. We were born to be tactical, not strategic. Yeah. Let that just sink in. And so the majority of people in the world are not business owners per se. They're doers, they're tacticians. They work for some system or something because that's where they're comfortable. And at this company, what we encourage is, okay, you might feel that way that you're part of something that you don't quote unquote own, but you own your thing. And that's how we, the three of us, and already in 8 months, you get us now, right? But you and I have been trying to evolve out of that tactical birthright into a strategic place that is an educated place. So when you ask me also, like, well, how do people get it? And I said, well, look, I know how I personally broke out and continued to break out of tactical. I never stopped learning. I got caught in 3 hours of traffic. Most people would bitch and complain about that. I listened to 3 podcasts that are done by people who are strategically thinking, right?
I just got this idea, not really idea, but birthing off of what you were just saying. So we are born technicians, and then hopefully we evolve to be more strategic.
Correct.
Once we're strategic, then the next evolution is growth mindset. Kind of ties into everything that we were just talking about this morning.
Excellent. We want to, again, indulge us for a little bit here because it's really, really important. Really important. This is probably the biggest discovery we've ever had. And the best part of just being here with the core team, with Laura and Autumn, again, I wanted them here today. Usually I don't like to bother them completely with this, especially Autumn as she's building this book out. But it's really important that you understand, if I just had an overall camera of the 3 of us sitting here, you're looking at the bare minimum nucleus for a business, I think, in this business, because this is the listings now. Before it was the sort of like my business and I need help with. That's wrong in the context of trying to grow this business. What's right is to understand the basics of the work that must get done to build a business. We, the 3 of us, have to be the core listings getting machine that allows growth. So when we were talking today, why haven't we grown before this? So when all these, all these ridiculous questions come at you, well, how many agents do you have? And how come you don't have more? Well, we now understand how to answer that, right? Yeah. We got thrown for a loop by getting sucked in transactionally. And then the wake-up call was getting slapped by the internet and the recession combined, which forced us to be strategic, right? I mean, it's like enough is enough of getting whipsawed by all these things. Let's get strategic. And it was easy enough 7 years ago to go back to Michael Gerber's, but I have a new perspective, okay? And the new perspective, just trying to see which camera this is. Hang on, guys. Can you all see me? I mean, I want you to be able to see me. Yeah, it's okay. That's dynamic. It'll pick it up. I want you to be. Can you see me and hear me? Okay.
Unfortunately,
yeah. Whitehead, my resident comedian, dude. If you don't do stand up on the side, you're a big wimp. All right. Let me go here and I want to zoom out a little bit here on this camera if I can. So bear with. But please pay really close attention to what I'm doing. I have my core team here for the company really trying to show you what's what here, okay? I'm really telling you this is how we're doing this, right? Let me just yank this down a little bit. And this is working. And you're going to see, did you get me the telemarketing spreadsheet so we can show them the evidence of what we mean by we know it's working? The latest one? Email. Okay, good. All right, cool. All right. So what we just said in this model is that at the bottom, the way we are born is tactically, okay? And that's also known as technician. This is the way you all naturally run your businesses. There's nothing wrong with you. This is a birthright for anybody who's a worker in the world. You're born here. Why? Because tactically, the birthright comes from survival, okay? You are not going to rewire that. There's nothing wrong with you. How about that? Good news today. Therapy 101 today in business. There's nothing wrong with you. You are born, we are all born to survive. So that makes you tactical by birth. So you come out wanting to kill, drag back to a cave, eat, repeat, right? That's it. So the higher level of thinking is just simply starts with an awareness, working backwards in this. And again, I probably give Gerber too much credit for being the guy that puts it there, but because it's just normal. What happens is the smartest of us, who are the smartest survivors, become what? Aware that something is repeating. Okay? Awareness. So there's a layer between that technical work and then this next thing, which is thriving, right? So you want to thrive, which means grow a business after strategy. So I'm going to come back to that. But so now you have this next level of thriving. And so I'm going to put the strategist there because that's what it is. The strategist. You have the tactician, you have the strategist, but how does somebody cross up to this? How do you really make this permanent? Well, somewhere along the line, one of these brains, now this is going to be so simple when you know all this stuff. Think about what Napoleon Hill discovered, Maxwell Maltz pounded on. There's one really key thing they share, and it's creative imagination. Okay? Very, very key, obvious, hiding in plain sight. One thing that they share, it is the artist in us. It's the creative thinker. The war of art speaks all to this subject right here. It is right here where you have creative imagination that can be employed as a tactic. Okay? So the creative in us, we're becoming aware that we're repeating something. Like if you know that if you go out to that part of the plane and the deer are there at 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock, you're going to repeat that.
Yeah.
Because you know they're going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the lower thinking tactician who has no creative and just says, that's it. Don't make any noise. Don't make any time for thinking, right?
Yeah.
Don't do it. Gets up and repeats it forever until they die. But the one that uses creative imagination comes back to the cave after the belly's full and thinks, what if we got there at 2 o'clock? And what if we put some kind of, and by the way, this is a real Indian technique called the piskin. I wrote an article about this one time. The Indians actually, certain Indian tribes learned how to herd buffalo over a cliff. It was called a piskin. So they would get there, somebody at the front of this funnel would scare the buffalo herd, and the Indian tribe was lined up, and they would come out from behind things on either side of them to keep them in this piskin, and over the edge they would go to their death en masse. So instead of going out and killing one, there's a perfect example of going from tactical, using creative to have a strategy that now is way higher level. And then you wonder why businesses / tribes outlast each other. Why does one outpace the next? It's not luck. It is the creative that allows you to thrive through a strategy. Making sense here so far?
Yeah.
All right. So now you say to me, because I'm working this backwards. Now we've got this other thing that, like, I don't even know what to call it. Fulfillment. Okay. Like when you really, when you really get there, you're I guess it's the visionary. It's all coming home to roost. Like I always had this dream of this successful business, you say, and I'm kind of getting there. So I'm working backwards because most people rush to, well, you're going to have a vision. That's why. No, I'm not so sure that's the right order anymore. You follow me? Like we're about to do this with the team. You've invited them in with a vision board. Okay. I have seen and experienced over time too many people get a whacked out vision that becomes unrealistic. Not because you don't want to dream big, but because they have no sense of this, where they're at today. I have walked into conferences way back in my career, and somebody comes up with all this, oh, I'm going to do it. I said, really? What are you going to do next year? $1 million. Really? You know what I ask? Where are you at today? Well, I just got my license. And I stopped him and I said, well, why would you do that to yourself? What are you talking about? How are you going to go from 0 to $1 million in 1 year? Can you tell me? He took off, right? So, and again, I'm not trying to hurt anybody. I'm trying to just say, look, man, this is it. So now you come in and you say, all right, let's work backwards a little bit. If I get fulfilled in a vision of growing a business, it's one that works. We've talked about this. We're fresh off of a seminar, live, where we say this is a business built on systems that's expandable. You can clone it. It's the franchise prototype per se. Okay. I don't want to get all weird with Gerber stuff. I just want to say it's something that actually is a real business that serves us. Everybody is served by it. It's not serving one person. Like, think about big public companies. Hey guys, somebody's banging around in the background. You just mute your mic. That'd be awesome. So that person, whoever that person is, that's the one. So if you'll just, and by the way, sit still, put your ADD aside for 2 minutes and like think. Should be super silent, and you should be up in your head. And if you're multitasking, shame on you, because then you're going to not get this.
Al Pacino at his best.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate you, Mark Schwartz. You're the best. So now you get here and you get to this vision and you're saying, all right, like, what is this thing? But you have to understand where it came from. So Laura and I have this conversation today. How do we, after all these years, me 20, her 13 with me, how do we all of a sudden come to this point where we feel good about the next level? You know why? At the very foundational point of tactical strategy, we finally get somebody back in the seat to match you with the strategy for sellers, which never existed. Hear me say that all. And I bet for you it's the same. Because I have never been so certain that this small core of my company could produce conversations. And here it is, yet another one. And I'm going to go over these. Another black package for Friday. Another telephone conversation with somebody out of state on Saturday. Do I have a Sunday too? I have 3 conversations this week alone. And you know what week it is. It's December. Okay. Now you might say, yeah, but that's when everything expired. Nah, whatever. I've never intentionally had this much going on in December to build out and to fulfill a strategy tactically. But it started by saying, well, geez, we understand that the vision for the business is to get listings steadily because they beget everything else. They beget more buyers. They beget open houses. They beget agents because they see everything. So the vision of a business in real estate that works has to have a machine
I think what
that generates listings. Yeah, come on.
Important to seeing this visual on here is figuring out what level you're at. What has to happen in your business to get to the next stage?
Correct.
And then I don't know that.
But hold on. Well, okay, because you're getting all thoughty, right?
Yeah.
The thoughts are flooding you. Let me help. What I think you can, just writing this on the board over and over and over, these 3 levels. You're right. You can figure out where you're at, or you're right. You can reset too, to take an inventory. If you and I knew what we knew today, we would be like, we want, knowing what we know, we want a listings creation machine at price ranges and in geographies that we really want to be, that are higher level, because it takes no more money to deal with people at that level. Henceforth, the deal we just finished. Okay. So we would have said that today, but yet in this very group right here, you still hear an enormous, guys, mics are live. Okay. Now I have to babysit. And mics are live. Just mute me if you're going to be loud. Okay. I'm good with it. But so now what you see here is a business that is built on a cornerstone that sits right here now. Okay. We have redeveloped the cornerstone. Once upon a time, it was a massive ad in the newspaper soliciting sellers that went all over Cape Cod. Its failure, it as a strategy, was it was just shock and awe. An area that's massive. It spreads out your brand. It doesn't go local. It worked. I had a lot of listings, but they were all over the place. Now you refine that. So strategically, I saw back then, he or she who has most listings gets momentum. So I've done this before. But what I questioned was the strategy. Okay. Strategically, what was wrong with this? So now you just go into the model and you say, do I have a marketing strategy problem first? Yes. Well, what are you doing? You're trying to do the whole Cape, and you're doing it through mediums that cover the whole Cape. And then beyond, then we went to the radio. So all these people that say, well, he's on the radio and he's killing it. Really? Like you're in East Bufu, getting a listing where you don't cover. And you're driving 45 minutes to cover a showing because the person's having a conniption. That's the wrong strategy from a marketing standpoint. Wrong. So all you say is, what was wrong? The definition of market or geography. What else was wrong? The lack of clear definition of the human who owns the property. In our business, it's easy. Pick a price at median and above. In there, I'll promise you, making that cut first is an avatar that you can discover. Now, what we went up there, what avatar did we discover? The one who does what? What did we just say today? You and I just described the avatar. What's the difference between David and somebody else? David Liberty and somebody else.
Oh, they're not malleable.
Okay, they're not malleable. They're not persuadable. They're not teachable. They're not malleable. They're not persuadable, and they're not motivated correctly.
Yes.
So now you go into that geography, you go into that price range, and this is where the training for you comes in.
Mm-hmm.
It no longer, bravo, standing ovation in 8 months for what you've done in a short period of time, because we blew the whistle for you. You saw it was for you. You sit there, you execute through the tough times too. Who are these people? What's going on here? Now you find for yourself the opportunity to go to the next level of understanding, which is the freedom from us to say, you make the cut now. You listen in, because you've already discovered that if we have to babysit somebody who is not teachable, who is arrogant, who doesn't have the right motivation, who doesn't have the right, just ask deeper, why not? You follow? You stop and go, ooh, this doesn't feel like Avatar, even though it's geography, even though it's math. That's the next level of the strategy, because you're in marketing. You're not even talking about medium. See, everybody runs to a medium and says, well, should I do the postcard? Should I do the billboard? Everybody is tactic shopping like the dumbass buffalo running through the pigskin over the cliff. Am I wrong? So same thing in any business, right? Right?
Yeah.
Right? We get spooked into the pigskin by the digital age, and off we go. All we did was come up and took a damn triangle. Where are they? Who are they? And now what do you say? Now, this is where this whole package comes to play. The hunch was the internet has caused what? Anybody want to answer me? It has caused a problem. What is it? The internet.
It's caused a bunch of them.
What's one major word?
That people go on the internet before they want to and try to do it themselves.
Okay. And that causes what?
Well,
What kind of mind does nothing?
an idle one.
A confused.
Confused.
A confused mind does nothing. So the problem, because you're looking to be different, right? So now we're in who are they, where are they? And you got to come up with a message. I'm not even talking the difference between what they want and what they need yet, because that was a new strategic distinction. See, once you start to think like this, you're making other distinctions faster and faster, and you're separating yourself so fast from the crowd. It's like, here, walk down to Kinlan Grover and take all the stuff from the package we send out to the listing presentation and give it to them and say, we'd like to compete with you. Here's our stuff. We send this, we do this. You're so far ahead of their understanding so far, because you've been thinking strategically.
They would have a hard time keeping up.
They would have a hard time even understanding what we just dropped on. Well, what do I do with this? They would say. Well, this is nice looking. Oh, my thing looks better. You know what I mean? They'd fall into what? A tactical thing. Oh, there's an idea. Well, give me that market report. I'll stuff that into what I do tactically now. They would never see the strategic vision. They wouldn't have this perspective. And this is what's giving us a competitive advantage. Now, in the beginning, I'll say it again. It is the creative imagination. The imagination to say, if I'm a guide and I want to create a simple guidance system, what would it say? What would it look like? So you hit the 7 bullet points first, then you write out your thoughts like you would say it as a script. And the next thing you know, voila, you have a whole booklet about your guidance for the very thing that you want, which was more sellers. Okay? It is a mega unique selling proposition to have manifested guidance that's simple to give it away. So now you have the message is that you're confused because the information of the internet lacks what? Guidance.
Yeah, personal touch.
Guidance. When you're personal touching them, though, it's guidance you're
Right.
offering. Anybody can pick up the phone and call, but the difference is when somebody calls with just a tactic, well, you use NLP. Well, you say these things. It's all tactic. I call it on muscle, but that's what survival is. It's all tactic. So the minute that you come in with creative and you say, how do we build a piskin for listings? How do we get the buffalo, AKA the listings, to come down a funnel regularly so only 3 people, think about what I'm saying, only 3 people leveraged correctly with the right marketing, then subsequently the right things to say about the right marketing. How can 3 people get leverage? And this is where leverage is lost on people in this group. They don't understand that this was all built strategically. Now you do. You came in on thousands of hours of refinement to be able to sit still with your expertise and run, but you were plugged into a strategy that already existed, right? And then we just needed the validation. What do I say on Fridays? The number one thing I want from somebody is what? A recorded call. Because I'm interested not in saying you did something right or wrong. I want to know is the consumer saying your strategic approach is going to be rewarded.
Right.
I'm going to reward you. I'm going into your funnel. I know I'm in it too. I know you're on either side of me. I know you're getting him over here to list me. I get it, but I'm in and I'm willing. Simply because strategically, like Dean returned the coin, we got really about what's in it for them. Okay, you with me?
Yeah.
So the messaging, it might look complicated, but it started before telemarketing because we probably didn't quite see or have the resources or the energy or the focus because what we were doing was still surviving out of the recession and the digital age change, which discombobulated a lot. So it threw you back into survival mode. I will never go there again if I can help it. I don't care how big the slam gets of the next change. I will never be in that leaning towards tactics that much where I get caught off guard like that, right?
Yeah.
Never. Won't happen again. And I'm going to explain, I'll prove that to you right now. So now you get in here and you say, all right, let's take your personalized letter out yet because I'm not even there yet. So what if 2 people, not 3? Now, those of you that are doing this alone, you're alone. With Laura and I, we were already evolved and still, we didn't snap back to just Danny in a room. So we had 2 people, at least at the core, getting this. You write another letter that's an explanatory letter that looks like, you know, a copywriting letter that somebody can skim. It's their cheat sheet to say, I just gave you something to unconfuse you. I don't care. I'm not even at expireds yet. I'm not even there yet. You are thinking about selling and you've gone online now and you've gotten yourself confused looking at a gazillion properties and everybody has an opinion and there's 17 different blog pieces about each section. Here, let me simplify it for you and let me choose a different medium that cuts through the noise. So I have the message, guidance matters. Information with insight is what we do. Follow that? Because I'm starting to bring together what they want, information, pictures and details of properties with what they need, a strategy, and I'm explaining how to do it yourself. Let that sink in. Let that sink in. This is, and this just hit me over the last 2 weeks.
She says that on the phone.
Because now, because we've been saying it in here.
Yeah.
We are going to essentially, when they say, what are you going to send me? I'm going to essentially send you something that if you wanted to,
you could sell that property yourself
without us, right? And you know,
saying that is so
Powerful.
empowering and powerful, and it really, without saying it, displays that we are detached from the outcome.
Outcome, exactly.
Which is the key thing that has been taught forever by people who are good strategists. The strategists say to the tacticians in the piskin, why don't you just become detached from the outcome? And the junkie trying to survive today says, what? You want me to give away my best stuff for free so that they could sell it themselves or give it to their cousin who's an agent? Do you think I'm insane? Well, yeah, I do. I do. I think you're insane to repeat over and over tactically what you're doing and expect a different result.
Right.
Einstein, thank you. The definition of insanity is to do the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. That's why most people never grow a business. I'm convinced of it. So the minute you take those strategists at their face value and say, I'm going to trust this. I'm going to use my creative imagination to imagine, wouldn't that be nice if it was me? If I was sitting at home and I wanted to sell my house, I'm not going to talk about disposition yet, and somebody sent me a letter, hey, saw that you were thinking about selling it. A friend told me you were selling it. Saw you on the internet you wanted to sell it. Saw that you expired. Saw that somebody died. Here's how to take care of yourself. It's self-medicating. Okay, so here's what's in here. Know a little bit about the direction of market so you don't fall for that crap that even realtors do. It's a buyer or seller's market. Well, here's stats. You make your interpretation of that. Here are all the pictures and details of stuff that's sold around you in a general price range. And here's the strategy that you're going to go through. And that's it. There is no top producer in the world that at its essence doesn't do this for you simply. Follow? Now, if it comes to you with instructions and information, it's just an information pile. But it's direct mail. It takes you out of the noise of the internet, and it arrives in it's almost like some guys in this podcast yesterday were talking about a website being leaky. This is not leaky. This is self-explanatory. It comes out of an envelope. You spread it on your desk, and there's really no ADD moment where you click on another button. You can see it. And for those people that want to skim it, there are highlighted pieces. There are highlights of each property, and there are highlights in each, like in the what am I trying to say? The summary or the index page. So you could skim this, and you could determine if there really was something in it for you very quickly. So instead of sending a box with so much information that you get confused, and I hope because you're further confused, I went in a completely different road, less traveled. I don't seek to further confuse you off the internet. I seek to get in your house and unconfuse you, right?
Yeah.
With this alone. This is my envoy, right?
Another beautiful thing about that is it really speaks to any age, male, female, like any demographic. It's something that anyone can digest.
Correct.
It's not like.
Correct. Now, that's do it yourself. So the magazine, the full explanation is in there. Why don't I bring it to the house? Because I'm trying to answer, by the way, if you haven't noticed, if you're listening to me today, I'm trying to answer a lot of your questions you all ask me frequently. And that's why I have Autumn here, because we're going to talk about our evolution in a second here. So the point is, now when I go into the home, okay, I have my nice presentation folder. And why are we working on, first of all, let me go back here for a second. I'm going to back up. I've shown you all, hopefully you all can see this. When we leased, don't be, like impressed that I'm going to tell you I leased a Porsche. It's the stupidest thing I did, the Macan, but everything like that, I was trying to upgrade my image at luxury. The Audi, the Jeep Cherokee, the Macan, they're all the same price. And so my thinking was when I went into, Austria, I wanted to drive something that, felt luxury. I hated it within the first 2 months. I prefer the Jeep because it's just as good. But one of the great benefits of having leased a Porsche, they sent me a box. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The best part of leasing this Porsche was they sent me a box and they changed my perspective on marketing forever. And that is the difference between 3 or 4 car companies that were all the same price. This.
Yeah.
This.
If I have a Jeep, they don't send that.
Correct.
Yeah.
Follow me? This. So now you can say, interesting. Watch this comparison. If I have a Porsche folder and I have our folder, not bad. We did okay. We went with this matte kind of finish. We got a nice gold stripe, but now this becomes our standard, right? Now we come up against this because when you open up our inner piece of it, the leave behind, let me take out my meat. You're going to see it's just a standard folder. It's just a standard look and feel. But now remember, if I walk into their house tonight and I give them a listing presentation at 1.2 and they just leased a Porsche, they got this stuff. So do I look like that? See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So now all of a sudden, there's a new level to compete with, and it has nothing to do with real estate. It's a first-class luxury brand company that gets this. The quality of the paper, the look, size, touch, and feel of the logo, all of that stuff. And when I look at that page that, Autumn sends her stuff on it, logo's wrong size, paper's wrong stuff. You know what I mean? Little subtleties. Still we're working. But now the next level becomes this. So walking into the home, where do we go next? It's all we have to do to work, walk up the ladder. The other thing, moving backwards up the lane, is saying, well, that's a pretty good standard. Does that meet that standard? Not even close. It's effective. It's better than stuffing it with the white envelopes and putting tape on it like we used to. We've evolved. But again, immediate, and this is where money in your business competes. So when you're spending money on internet leads at over $1,000 a month and you don't think about these materials first, that's because you got so tactical you missed the obvious stuff. Okay? So now we look at that and we can evolve. But we say, yeah, but we've already learned that this is resonating at luxury. Not just Porsche, Lamborghini, whatever. Like we're talking to people at 5 million, 2 million, right? Regularly. You've had a 5 million here, you had a 5 million in Boston. I mean, I could go on and on. So voila. Now, instead of just an envelope, can we get a box that looks like this and drop this to everybody over whatever, 1.5 million, 2 million? Can you, and people go, well, but that's so expensive. What are you willing to pay
You have to do
to
it.
acquire a $5 million listing?
That's right.
But yet this looks fancy. But if we go back and we look at all our expenses, you will puke when you find where the money is to do something like this. You are peeing it down the river and not even thinking like this because we never thought strategically about bundling 3 packages only. A DIY for an agent, somebody thinking about getting into the business. Voila. I met you at an open house. Voila. Right? You're thinking about selling. 3 DIY packages at the classiest level, 2 levels. One just has a really nice envelope presentation, an interior. One goes for the mother load. That's all.
Could you imagine sending that to an expired? Like we already get some positive feedback on our package.
Yeah,
What did I say
and
about?
they're not even close.
What did I
enough.
say about outdistancing yourself?
Oh yeah.
Not only do you already go there, but you obsess over this every week in your strategic thinking meeting with me to evolve it immediately. There is never hesitation. There can't be, because what you're doing is conditioning this. Then all you do is you go back to the technician, and we're strategically thinking about it ourselves here today, but now you go back to the technicians, you say, hey, here's what we're doing. What do you think? What's the feedback? Here's why we're doing it. You will never ever send that out again. Here's what we're going to do. So we went here first and then changed. Or we asked, what is it like to say this on the phone? Okay. I'm asking of myself. Like when I'm split personality type, I walk out of an open house or a listing presentation and I ask myself as a technician, what, Mr. Technician, should we have done better before you went here? That's what I do. So every time I call you when it's fresh in my mind, we've got a problem here. I'm saying it from this level because he told me. That was really weird to show up at that open house and I didn't have this and I was off. Why isn't this like this? The materials feel wonky. That's how all of a sudden, once you break through and this becomes a little bit even habitual, you will never want to do it differently
Yeah.
again.
I think once you, like you're saying, get strategic, it's hard to fall back thinking differently.
Right.
Other than that
100%. Now let's go back to growth, and then we're going to open this up. Okay. Let's go back to growth. So we're there, right? Our strategy has been built. As I said all along, if you build a conversion module that's measurable, you'll be able to have easy metrics coming to you. So now that we have telemarketing, we get the number of leads from Vulcan, and all the leads, we cull it down. We begin to say, how many did we buy? How many we throw out? How many did we call? How many we talked to? How many packages got sent out? Now we go into another level by probate. How many probate packages? How many? Because what if probate outpaces it? Do we adjust strategically? When you come in, now you call your probates new because you're killing those. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
That's all the strategist thinking. You don't stay linear.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
You don't stay linear. You go exponentially so you can do what? Grow.
Mhm.
That's what exponential growth is stimulated by, getting out of this linear tactical mentality, getting in strategic, and strategic being that time to think creatively, to say, hey, we used to do A, D, E, now we do A, B, C, but
Mhm.
is A, B, C even right? And never getting comfortable, always challenging what's that next level. Make sense?
Mhm.
So now when you come back up here, the simple question is, how can, without hiring another telemarketer or client care manager yet, to refine it and say, what is strategically drowning us? So what I discovered 2 weeks ago, and when we trained you and the folks that were on there, they felt your pushback in that moment because who was speaking?
My survival.
You got it. I feel overwhelmed. That sounds like a shit ton of cleanup, and I don't want to shovel the manure in the barn today. Well, I get it, but you let that voice, that's where that voice, now you wonder why people don't think strategic. Donnie Cohen had probably the most powerful tactical voice flare up. Okay, Voltaire had it. I'm thinking over the week, you had it. I did it for years, by the way, guilty first, but my point is that tactical version of you shows up and starts screaming and basically throwing a tantrum. I don't want to be strategic. I don't want to go in and look at 267 names and figure out who gave permission and who didn't. Okay, fine for the moment, but you better immediately say to the tacticians, don't ever not tag somebody again. Did we get permission first?
Mhm.
Yes, you can send it. Did we send it and then get them? All those subtleties are a massive indication of which strategy is best. And if you leave it cloudy and nebulous, you don't know. Now you're guessing. And you say, well, I feel. Well, I think. No, by now, you've built something through strategy that tells you how to make your life better. And that's how you grow it. Got it?
Right.
Okay. All right. Let's get into some Q&A because you really, really all need to hear me say this. I don't care. Some of you keep like getting so like your tactical voice is so weird. Well, I don't, how are people doing in California with, expireds? How are they doing in Seattle with expireds? How many of you closed? Like that's that voice. That's that voice. That's a tactical voice. It's actually sort of the same voice as one deal itis that I hear on coaching calls. People will start to talk at me sometimes because they're not thinking strategically. Go ahead. What do you want to say? Go ahead. I'm good. Go ahead.
Case in point.
Who's?
Hello?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Who's that?
Yeah, no, I was just,
Oh,
I
Fahad.
was just agreeing with you because I think I just did it like last week.
Yeah.
This week about the expired. That's what you're saying.
Yeah. And I wasn't necessarily thinking of you, but you're right. You did. And Fahad, nothing.
I thought you were talking right at me because
Perfect.
That's exactly what I did. I said the same thing. I said, well, in California, like, yeah, if the bulk is 7, I'm like, okay, well, am I going to start it? Like, should I do it? Like, are people already doing it in my area? Like, I don't want to be like,
Exactly.
I was thinking I didn't want to compete. Like, I know Donnie and Abe are in my area, and I'm like, if they're doing expires and hitting these people up, like, why should I even, I should just focus on something else because I don't want to, like, even though there's plenty of business to go around, I just didn't want to do that.
And again, here's what I'm after. When I coach you all one-on-one, I'm trying to give you what I'm achieving each week myself or challenging myself. It's just simply awareness. Nobody's condemning you.
Yeah.
Like, the hardest thing for me, thank God you all trust me, because I'll get heated with some of you, and it's not you personally. It's that voice. Your shadow, the worst thing that can hurt your business is that voice. It's the voice of the survivor, tactical worker. And you need that person. And oftentimes that person is so dang good at it. I was just at a listing where one of the agents was telling me, this gal, Sandy, who's a top producer, they say she never leaves her desk. Never. She's there all the time, working all the time. Sandy Tanko. Okay, wonderful. To what end? So all you have to do is go in and look at somebody like that, and you're going to know immediately that that's on muscle. That is the epitome of a very successful tactician who has no life.
Yeah.
Got it?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so the idea here is the awareness. So let me hear from a few people here. Got a couple of noisy mics. So if you can quiet your mic if you're in a noisy spot, okay, that'd be awesome. I really, really would love to hear your thinking on this and then you can ask, because I have the core people, and we just hijacked this again for training us in front of you so that we continue to empower all three of us to build a better strategy, right? So, yeah, go ahead. Come on.
For those of us in the group that want to do this, and we just, haven't implemented it completely, the box and this and that, can you just send us each a copy and I'll PayPal you whatever the package is, $12, $18, whatever it costs. Just mail me one as though I'm a potential prospect, expired.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind doing that. I don't mind doing that, but I don't know why you need me to do that. Here, let me clarify a point.
I want to see the exact.
I got it. I got it. You have it. Yeah. Okay. I got it. And to a large extent, you have it. We can get the very specific specifications. So I don't mind doing it, but then everybody's going to ask me. It's going to be a pain in the ass, and it's going to disrupt us. But again, you're my clients. So like, if you really have to have it, what I wanted to clarify though was something you just said. You asked about one strategy. Okay. In other words, what you said is, for those of us who haven't done it yet but want to do it, I'm making a bigger statement here today. I believe, Paul, that what we have discovered here through creative thought and imagination over a long period of time, there are 3 basic core do-it-yourself packages for all 3 core avatars: seller, buyer, and agent. Now, clearly the seller one is the most fully developed, going up to higher levels. Laura and I are working on the agent one as we speak. And the other one that we're working on is the buyer one, because I want to be able to sit here and show you 3 core packages, because this is not about only expireds. It is not about only probates. It is about every type of seller that all we would have to do, and I've already begun to do this for you in the teachable side, is put the right explanatory cover letter. Okay. Lee, I got to mute your mic for 1 sec. I put the explanatory do-it-yourself cover letter if I know context. I start with a very general one, but if they're an internet lead, I put that one in, right? If they're probate, expired, FSBO, any kind of seller lead, I simply have to write a do-it-yourself, self-explanatory cover letter, what's in it and what it all means to them. And the more specific I can become, that's it. So my bigger, higher level conversation here today is, if you don't have all 3 of them done in some form or fashion, and you start with sellers, that's where you start. Period. It is an absolute plug and play system. They are sitting under the Teachable site for the courses, the latest ones we have. The cover letter is, for I think several of the programs. We have probate in there too.
Yep, and FSBO.
Yeah, and I think you can remind me too. I think I have a general over the net evaluation one. Can you write that down? So as soon as this ends,
I don't, Gail was asking asking if we could get these in PDF. I mean,
Yes.
Word.
Yeah. I'll look for the Word doc, Gail. I got your message today. Let me see where they are. If not, put them all up on Fiverr, please, and hire somebody to type them.
Okay.
Okay. If I don't have them quickly, go into my Fiverr.
MRG, because he's the one who made them. Can you just convert them?
Maybe
No.
ask him. Maybe he has them in Word doc. You could ask him if that's the quickest way. Okay. So Paul, that's where I'm coming from, because here's what I think a lot of you do well. I think a lot of you make materials decisions well. So in other words, this only comes down to, like, you're asking me to physically see this thing. Okay. This is absolutely nothing more than a thin, nothing substantial, 4-stamp envelope, the name of the company, Autumn's personalization on it, and a handwritten address. Okay. That's that. It's got one of those little doohickeys in the back to close it down, and it arrives. Inside of it, I'm going to hold off that for a second. Inside of it is a copywritten letter that is on, like, you have this same stock inside your computer, print one out. Okay. You have this on the same stock, print one out. I don't even know what to tell you will use, but it's either RPR, okay? It's RPR or whatever, where we have, the maps and stuff. That's also on the site, yeah?
Cloud CNET, yeah.
Let's make sure on the TRC site, the order of the package, like each item.
We've done that.
No, I know. I just want to make sure on the Teachable site, it's in order. I want no questions. It's print, stare at it, right? That's it. So you get those 3 things. And then lastly, the magazine. Paul, the quality of the magazine you sent me, my wife thought was even a little bit better than this one. Okay. So that becomes a matter of your local printer or whoever you're going to use. So I think you have to make those personal decisions, but there's zero rocket science to this. Okay. Zero.
I don't need a copy. I don't need a copy of any of that. I was talking about, when does the box come into play?
Oh, I haven't done it yet.
Oh, well, we just wait 3 minutes.
Okay.
I got all that stuff.
Well, then Paul, then I'm going to just tell you that this is the box type of thing I'm pricing out right now. Thanks to Dean Miller, okay, for telling me about Park Lane. And I got another company up on my deal. Laura has sent me the pictures. I'm going to send it to those people and say, how do I make a box like this and how much would it cost me? Right? That's all I'm going to do. I don't know how thick it has to be. Yep. I don't know how thick it has to be.
I got another one. I got another one for you too, if you want to look.
Yep. I'll look right now.
It's called sunpack.com. SUNPACK.
Let me just see. I had a couple of them up here too. Let me just go back to.
I think they're a little more. They're going to be a little more high end than.
Yeah, Park Lane's not high end enough. I've looked them
Can you hold the first one?
There's Pack Lane, PACKLANE, and the other one is called Sunpack, SUNPACK.
Got you. Thank you.
Yeah, I've been dabbling on their website because you can do form fitted stuff in there as well. They do complete customization, and I don't think their prices are ridiculous.
Yeah, Will Daly has a.
Pack Lane Edge spoke very highly of their pricing.
Yeah, Will Daly had another technique, by the way. So this is what I'm saying, Paul. The creative imagination. You guys will begin, depending on, I think Grant Van Dyke, I think Will Daly. It must be those Arizona guys. They're out there with all that energy. I just gave both of them compliments for their creativity. Both of those guys are creative thinkers, and they tend to put their own feeling on their stuff. I think that's also important. I think it has to be consistent with your brand, that kind of thing. So I would say that matters. I'm only trying to be transparent, and I'm showing, again, my team's just sitting here getting on all the same page while we do this, right?
Hey, Danny.
Yeah, man, go ahead.
Just a quick question. I was just thinking, I like the idea of the box. What do you think, how to address the outside? Are you going to do a label, handwritten?
Yeah, that's part of my homework here, trying to figure that out. Like Paul, I know what Paul was asking now. It's almost like, what does the delivery of something like that look like? So,
how did that force box come?
Yeah, how did it come?
It's a super question. I wish I was smart enough to remember. No, it was mailed.
They usually come in a FedEx or UPS type box.
Right.
It's a box in a box.
Yeah, I get that, but I'm just trying to think, you know, you're going to go through all the trouble to get the box. You definitely want to have it look the part outside so someone says, oh, I better open this.
Oh, no doubt. Well,
That's
Yeah,
why-
that's why.
Well,
that's
UPS
why I
box
know-
people will open.
I know all the high-end car dealers
Or
around me.
FedEx.
There's a couple furniture companies who do things like that, a couple construction companies I know that are doing it here locally, that I've reached out to a few of them. They all do that. So they'll take the Porsche box that Danny's got there, and then they'll package that inside of a delivery box, either from the post office or UPS or DHL, FedEx, something like that.
okay. So let me,
So they're actually shipping it like 2-day air or something too.
Yeah, I mean, you could do it. You just go. I think the post office in most cases is the cheapest way to go.
hey, look at this.
You go down there, pick up.
Look at this. Hold on. Look at this. If for those of you that are in the go to meeting, you'll be able to see it. I am on sunpack.com boxes. They have a Remax box right there, Lee. Right? There's the deal.
Really?
Yeah.
That's what I was just trying to think. Do you put the logo on the outside too?
Yeah, well, yes.
You know?
100%. So
The logo and all the branding goes on the actual piece that you want them to get. It doesn't go on the delivery system. So not the post office or the FedEx thing. That just looks like standard FedEx, post office, UPS stuff.
custom
But
foil.
you definitely brand the shit
There it
out
is
of
right
the
there.
packaging.
Yeah. So here it is. I mean, we've answered, like, see what a good mastermind group we really are. Okay.
What does that cost a piece, Dave?
Oh my God, this is amazing.
Yeah.
You got to get custom pricing on it.
Yeah.
Go
pricey.
team.
Yeah. See. Okay. So
Yeah.
there you go. So voila. Okay. So Laura, you can jump right on this right here.
Yeah.
We won't leave today without getting the answer because there it is. So what does that look like inside? Those are the custom options. I just want to see that box and show it if I can. See sample.
Hey, Danny.
The only other question I have about that now, when you look at it, we're going to put these materials into this high-end box. Don't be offended. When I look at your folder, you have your recorders put together with a staple or a paper clip. How can we pretty that up in a better format as well?
Do you mean
Even
the,
if it comes down to something
do
simple
you
to
mean
go
the
find
do
it.
you mean the
Oh.
CMA? Is that what you're talking about? That?
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I don't disagree. I'll tell you because you're a Realty Cast website member. I'll tell you right now. I'm actually working with him to be able to generate a marketing piece, a PDF. Right. I think all this PDF maker stuff that's online.
But
It looks. Hold on. Let me finish. Hold on. I know. Let me finish. It number one, the way something looks and feels is the way that the material's laid out. So can we custom lay it out? Number two, hold on. Everybody's getting excited now. Number two is just simply you're asking me, how can I print it and bind it? So I'm staring at this, copier next to me. I'm not going to go overboard with that. Like you're taking me there and I'll go there with you. But I don't want us to be spending time running down to a custom printer each time we have a custom, CMA that we're doing. Right. So I'm not going to lose.
So here's my point.
Yeah.
Don't use the 1/8 of a cent staple. Go buy some gold or silver binder clips. Even that looks nice.
We're just binding with the glue.
Yeah. All right. Hang on. All right. We're down a rabbit hole. Will Daly, you were going to say something because you are a packaging champion in this group right now. So I want to hear what you had to say.
All right, thanks. When you were scrolling, I saw a red box that said the list. And you guys were talking about branding and stuff. If the concept or we're here to give people something that's going to help them, then the package should be less about us and more about what's in it. That's just my opinion. I saw something. There was a red box that said the list. And I was like, man, shouldn't the box have 7 steps to home seller success or something like that? What's in it for them? Yeah, of course I want my name and my brand in it. You must have done another on the other site. But that's just
I got it.
There it is.
I got it.
And then secondly, we're talking about how to mail it. I'm still thinking about using a courier. Our title companies out here get couriers cheap. They get couriers cheap for like $20 or something like that or less. Have them partner with us and eat some of the courier. If they get something delivered to them in an hour or 2 or 3 after talking to our person, that's a wow moment.
No doubt. Hey, look at it. Yeah, I'm going to give you a big amen because look at. I think, by the way, this is strategic marketing. The decision, let me prove it to you. I'll prove it. It's in the formula. The media or the medium upon which and how which the message is delivered is a marketing decision. It's a marketing budget decision. So the cost of creation of the product, the cost of the courier to hand deliver it in that area, amen. I'm going to have a hard time arguing against that as an unbelievable wow factor. I mean, the distance between you and whomever else, you can pick the biggest brand in your area. There's nobody that's going to do this anytime soon, nor are they going to put something in there. And it comes back to the question, if we can, for less money, identify sellers who are motivated, you will never win the argument with yourself, with your tactical self, that an over-the-net home evaluation or a postcard-driven lead is better than picking up the phone, getting permission to send this and then sending it. You'll never win that argument anymore. Once you know this and you become aware of this, you'll understand. I know why I don't like to make telemarketing calls. I'm not a telemarketer, right? But I know 100% why it needs to be done. I'm also like, I love marketing, so this is easy for me, this piece of it, right? But I love the idea of a $2 million plus, and maybe not always that high, but my mind is taking me to the point where I'm thinking in Boston, every time Autumn can get a yes in Boston, to have these produced and be able to be delivered from Boston to the courier or picked up by the courier and delivered. I can't think of a better way to have somebody go, holy crap, who are you people again? Now, here's your dilemma. Like Dean, don't get me wrong. I loved what you were saying, because I'll go back to trying to, and as a group, we need to, you go back to the most luxurious brands we can steal or have our information on, and you literally feel their paper. You look at their signature, you feel their logo. You get very kinesthetic with this. You look at the clips it came out of in the box. Like, it's probably hard for you guys to see the little, clips it slid into, like a business card. So the letter is folded over and it is produced this way, right? And so it sits in there nicely. Then literally this box actually has weight to it. So there's some depth. I don't know whether that's it's probably an inch, right?
1 inch by 14.
But inside here, so there's this kind of glossy but matte finished cover. There's our equivalent of, a seller booklet, which this is now where Cantu is going with this. I want this taken down to those guys. And if they can't do it, I want somebody else to do it. So remember all the white space that we talked about? Luxury brands do use it. See what I'm saying? So that's why I kept saying it. Why? So you now take this stuff, and that's your seller booklet quality. Now, this is something that, I'll leave it all up to you. But I've seen this, by the way. Daniel Gale Sotheby's. Dean, you probably know those cats. This is a real bound book. De Leon does this, Gale. Okay? It's a real bound book. So now you go in here, and you've got this book. Well, it's the history of Porsche. So it's pretty straightforward. Dean,
Danny, I gave you all those lists.
You did. You did. Got them all. Like De Leon did this. But again, this is no different from the home seller course per se, but it's a coffee table book. And it makes it really hard to throw this shit away.
Yeah, I didn't know that was even
Really.
there.
So I don't even know. We can go through this, ladies, but that branding, Dean, is gorgeous.
Yeah.
That binding is still stapled, but it's stapled, professionally. And I don't really have any other example, but I also love the fact that in there is a really thick
Like a credit
card, with my stuff on it. That's how,
that was my favorite part of the box.
that's how I get them. And then there's a
Pen.
high-end pen, whatever the hell this thing is. It's a weapon,
Yeah.
right? There's a pen. And again, I know you're going to look at this first in your mind. You're probably going to say, oh, that's a lot. Oh, I'm not ready for all the things we say, like I said. And I'm making fun of myself, guys. I'm not making fun of you. I'm pissed off right now, which is what I get on Thursdays. I got pissed off. That's how I become a strategist, because I'm mad when this was hiding in plain sight and we were all a bunch of crack addict technicians paying too much for bullshit. What are you paying money for? Yep, go ahead.
But it's like I say to you all the time. If you could invest 1,000 to make 10,000 every time, wouldn't you do it?
If you could invest 9,000,
Right?
if you could Dean,
if you get a 10x return on your investment, why wouldn't it be worth putting a package together like this that costs $50?
Dean, it's worse than that. Dean, it's worse than that. What if you could spend 9,000 to make 10,000 and you were 100% certain every time? You would have the formula for unlimited wealth creation. So the point that I learned about that, go ahead, come on.
You give me an 11% return on any investment I make. I've got news for you. I'm going to retire and focus only on that one thing.
100%.
Like the stock market. How many
Agreed.
of us are making more than 6-8% a year?
Totally agreed. So this is the same mentality when you.
My point is, why focus only on doing this on $5 million listing? You got a $400,000, $300,000.
I don't disagree.
Around me where I stand to make $6-9 grand. Let's do it every day.
I don't disagree. I'm having a hard time arguing with myself against what you just said, but I'm going to go with what Laura said. And I'm going to also go to the pragmatic side of me and what I'm training Autumn, and we are empowering Autumn in front of you. We did it right before here, because here's what we're saying. Autumn, we now know our system and you are a perfect match. So what we're saying now is, but you also understand that you don't just throw things into the assembly line and run, because that actually will slow down your ability to print money for yourself. Because if you slow us down, we can't convert that fast. So we're now going backwards up the assembly line and saying, hey, you have permission to vet. She looks at us and says, well, how do you do that? You look for the things we discussed. Do you believe, which she could figure out faster than probably any of us on the phone, do you believe that they are persuadable? Do you believe they are truly motivated and will do whatever it takes within the time period we can list them, right? If you believe those things, that's the next level of avatar. I know they're at the number. I know they're in the location. But do you believe you've gone deeper? And Tony, was pestering me on this. Where's timing and motivation? Well, we do get there, and we get there quickly. But now we go to that whole other level where the pipeline is working, it's measurable. We're talking about the marketing that could really change the relationship. Another highlight I want to make, Dean, I said this to her before this started. I'm going to let her weigh in here before we run out of time. I am telling you that the last one I went into, the Gadies, okay, that's their name. I am telling you, whatever she did to build relationship was thicker and stronger than I would have expected. That once they became comfortable with me, they told me really about the feeling that they had from her. And that they were marveling at, well, how did you find us? Because, and this is a lot of what you guys are doing. Don't just buy Vulcan, get the info and stop. I think a lot of you, and you probably want at Autumn for best practices in telemarketing, because a lot of you say, well, what time does she call? Well, that's the technician in you. That's not the strategist. You're tactically asking her questions. Don't ask her that. Yeah. Say, what's the best strategy that you have found with this stuff? And she's just going to validate this because I'm making a big deal of it. Because it's helping her help us, yeah. Right? You want to weigh in on this?
Well, I mean, I've answered the question about times to call a few times. There are no good times to call. You call anytime you want, except for, after 9 p.m. at night. I'm getting better at my job. And one thing that I do is I lean in really heavily with a we can sell your house. I'm very confident. And even though I don't know that we'll sell their house, I still give them a really beautiful painted picture of us selling their house. And I don't know, it works.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really all I'm doing.
All right. So that's one piece.
I'm encouraging that.
Yeah. What you're running right now, you have the sheet in here for me, right? The telemarketing sheet. Can you just resend it so it's right at the top? Yeah. So here's a couple things. I'll pick your brain, because these are the questions I get from them. That's one. Stop talking about the damn hours and make the calls. Like if I hear one
Doesn't
more person
matter.
tell me they don't get anybody on the phone, they're not making the calls.
Yeah, 'cause
Would you agree with that statement?
Yes, I
or is
would
that
agree.
too aggressive?
No, I would agree with that statement. If you're on the phone long enough, you will reach people.
Okay. How about telephones that you call from? Have you noticed a difference from your personal cell phone to the office phone? Has that seemed, and maybe you haven't been aware of it, has it seemed to make any difference for you because there is some legitimate concern that maybe like people get blacklisted? Okay. Have you seen any of that?
No.
Okay, good. Next, let's go into, you made a comment before this call that you have gotten better. Why? What does that mean coming from you about you?
What that means is I know more through observation, listening, talking to clients. Now my flow, my vocal flow is much better with them. I'm never without a question to ask them.
Yeah.
I know, it's just a matter of practice makes perfect, and I'm not perfect yet.
Yeah.
There's always going to be room to grow, but I know now how to have a real estate conversation with these people and ask them, where they're going, what they're doing. Talk about upgrades, talk about the house, what they think it's worth. Basically, I guess I'm asking a lot of questions that are on the seller questionnaire sheet.
Yeah.
And then, my push is to give them incredible confidence in us. And it really is a faking it till you make it, but I'm not afraid to do that because we do good work.
Yeah.
So
how do you feel about your understanding of this package at this point? What does this package mean to you? What is the difference between having it and not?
Oh, well, I mean, I feel confidently that even if we didn't have it, I could keep them. It would be double the phone calls because I'd have to talk to them more often to keep them in my corral, so to speak. But having the package is very nice because what it does is it follows up from the conversation with an authenticity. First they hear my authenticity on the telephone, but they still don't, they haven't looked in my eyes. So when the package comes, it's the 1-2 punch. It's me and then the package. Mm-hmm. So then they get that feeling that, okay, Autumn's a real person. Here's their package. This is who she's working for. And they get a lot of warmth from me. I'm warm to people on the phone. Mm-hmm. And I listen and I use the term I understand quite a bit. And I'm, it's a personal style, but I'm somewhat gracious to them, and they respond.
So if somebody has a telemarketer or a current, group that's making the calls like the gang in Ottawa, you referenced, like if we were going to train somebody to get familiar with real estate since you weren't, that seller qualifying questionnaire, has been helpful to you to go deeper into real estate.
Well, it wasn't.
I get that right?
Yes, it wasn't particularly the questionnaire that I looked at. It was just,
But that's the essence of the conversation.
The essence of my conversation, right. Or the questionnaire sheet is the questionnaire sheet.
Okay.
Those
right.
questions.
Okay. This is still showing values that are screwed up.
Yes, because I'm unable to edit. I couldn't get rid of the words that were written in. That's why.
Does she have to do that?
I think so.
Oh, okay. I can do that. It's just
okay,
one
cool.
thing that's it.
All right, guys, our metrics are a little screwy, but the key point here that we're working on is, when I say screwy, I don't have call attempts because we messed with this thing a little bit off. But the bottom line is this. You can see the number of live conversations. And again, we're doing the best we can to track it as super accurately as possible because it tells us we're wasting our time. We don't want to waste our time. But ultimately, it's the 273 packages sent that I, as the general manager, am hyper-focused on these two, getting me a better understanding of what that is, okay? So what I really want to know at the next level as we sit here and go to it in front of you, I really want to know now several things. It's not really a big division, but one, did we get permission first and then send? Or two, did we send because we were trying to get them on the phone and we couldn't? Simple. Okay. So we sent without permission, sent with permission, period. Package sent with permission. There's our two tag names. Yep. Package sent with permission, package sent without. The next thing is now, because we did this linearly and patiently, we gave the first 8.5 months the time to have her become proficient at expireds, because that is the most certain place we knew we could buy contact information where there was enough and she could have real conversations fast. Now
It's the
Because,
obvious.
right. But exactly. Isn't it the obvious?
It's the
It is the
obvious.
singularly most obvious place
Because
to start.
they're sitting there hurting and they're pissed and they need help. And I'm the perfect person to go in and go, hello, let us help you.
Perfect. Now, next, because you became proficient at that in 8 months. So if somebody's wondering, and again, you have averaged somewhere around, it sounds like 21, 22 hours, if I averaged it per week of
Yeah.
work. Okay. And some of that early on was spent too much on the mailers, according to you.
Yes.
Which
Okay.
I'm not
Which
doing
were
anymore.
correct, which we adjusted. So
Yeah.
we saw in our strategy, the more we had you stuff in envelopes, the less dials we were getting, which kills this.
Well,
Doesn't mean what we won't have to have somebody stuff envelopes.
depends on how good your telemarketer is. A good telemarketer can make less dials and still bring in, that's just my own personal comment. The number that's really important is how many conversations am I getting to the dials? And if I'm in between 10 and 20%, that equals money for me. And I'm telling you,
Say
that
why
based
you
on
keep
my-
so okay. Say that again. Slow that down so that everybody sees it, because there've been a lot of weeks where it was much lower that, and some people with their telemarketers are experiencing way less. I think they're getting cheated or something's really way off. Okay. Because I just don't believe that over the course of, say, you've been here 8 months.
Mhm.
In your professional telemarketing experience, if somebody hires somebody like you to do the job or they're doing it themselves, what is the minimum number of hours you believe? I have a number in my head, but you believe, knowing what you know now, the minimum number of hours that somebody would hire for, and the minimum percentage connect that you would expect in that minimum hours.
Okay. First of all, if you hire a telemarketer, you should hire them for 4 hours a day. And that's really the bottom line, because that gives them enough hours to have a slumpy hour where they don't reach anyone, a slumpy 2 hours. It also gives you a good spread in the time of day. Like say you hire them 9 to 1. So they've got mornings and then they've got a little bit into the afternoon. If you hire them 1 to 5, you've got afternoon and a little into the evening. They should be making, now it depends if they're doing admin. Let's just say if it's just straight dialing the phone, it is possible to do 25 hand dials an hour, because you hopefully are having conversations within those 25 dials. And that's just how it's always been, because you're not a machine, you're a human being. So you figure they're getting close to 100 calls a day. Okay. Within those 100 calls, what you're looking for, ratio to dials to actual people they've spoken to, you're looking for 10 to 20%. Anything over 10%, I mean, if they can go higher than 20, well, that's amazing. I think I had one day where I had 69% contact ratio, and I actually had less dials that day. But in between 10 to 20%, 15% being really, really nice, that means money. That's all that is in telemarketing speak. 10 to 20% contact ratio versus 2 dials means money. So when I had a really low contact ratio and I was doing 3% and 4%, I was bummed out because I knew there's no money coming in. There were different reasons for that. We had a lull in the number of expireds that were coming in. I was doing more admin than I needed to do, or whatever. I was getting carried away because I like doing CMAs. There's not going to be money there at 3%, 5%, 6%. There's no money. It has to be 10% and up. 10% and up, with your goal being right in smack in the middle, 15%. That's where you have money. Even at 11%, I know I'm going to make money.
Cool. All right. So that would predicate. I'll make a change in mine. I was going to say 10 hours, but I'm going to say 8. Because I think if all of you are, here's,
I'm saying 4 a day.
Yeah,
20
yeah.
a week.
Well, yeah, sure. But here's the bare minimum.
Oh,
if
2,
they can't afford that,
10.
I'm saying 10.
Yep.
And I would say, okay, the best practices are what you just said. Like you really kind of need this 20-hour, but if it's 0, it's 0.
Right.
So my thought is, based on what you said, I got this 10-hour block in my head where I'm saying to myself, okay, that's fair enough. So they hire somebody for 2 slots of 4 hours. I can even drop it to 8. Because if you think somebody can sit still for those two sections, it's more about the metrics for me that you said. If they can get themselves 10% connect ratios and up and get packages out the door, it's a starting point. I think you're going to have to see what the result is, because I think it has a lot to do. First of all, I'll give you a compliment in front of them. I don't think you bullshit yourself. Forget about me.
Never.
Forget about me.
can't
I think the
afford to.
number one quality I've learned by watching you that I would suggest they look for is if somebody bullshits themselves about what they're doing, then they're bullshitting me
Right.
and you and everybody else.
Right.
I think the fact that you are a real telemarketer by background, you're not some kid that just decided I want to make some phone calls.
No.
I think it really,
Nobody wants to do this job.
both of my best telemarketers, I'm not saying that this is an age necessity. You both were 60 or older.
Mhm.
Okay. And I don't know, and I prefer you over Jack because of the nurturing. You both had equal talent per se at the job, and you both were real telemarketers, but the women are so much better from nurturing. Yeah. Wait, it's not even a comparison. So I think best practices is somebody, let's say at 55 and above, because they've been around enough to know what nurturing is, but they've been telemarketing long enough to know what metrics are. Like the way you're digging into those numbers, those are real things to you.
Yeah.
From
absolutely.
experientially real.
Yep.
This isn't theoretically real.
No, this is experientially. If it's below 10%, I'm not making money.
Okay, good.
But I do want to add something.
Come on.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
You did say 4 hours. If you do 2 slots of 4 hours, I think that is not a good way. You've got to have someone coming in all through the week, even if it's just 2 hours a day, because they're going to have to do callbacks. They're
All right,
going to.
cool. I'll take that.
For me, if you bring me in 2 days a week, I know I'm not going to make money because I'm going to lose
the
all
momentum.
the people
Great
that
point.
I need to call
I think that's
back.
a great point.
And I'm going to forget about them. By the
Yeah.
time I come in again, they'll be lost.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I would say 10 hours.
2 a day.
Yeah.
So that they can make their callbacks
Yeah.
and actually build their business. Because telemarketing,
Bravo.
I don't care where you are. I realize now it is my own business, and it always has been my
Bravo.
own business.
Bravo. Love it. Love it.
All right, question
Yeah,
for you,
fire away.
real quick. Just to be super specific, your contact ratio, you mean having an actual conversation, not, hey, I would love to talk to you, but I'm busy now. Call me
No,
back
an
later.
actual
That's a zero.
conversation.
Right,
Someone,
so the actual conversation, not just the, okay, yeah, call me back later.
well, yeah, that might be a contact, but it's not a conversation. It's not a live conversation. No, it has to be a conversation that ends with.
Conversation ratio we're talking about.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. See this live conversations and
Yes.
dials. My apologies, but we didn't educate her enough that she was kind enough to put like admin in that day because there was nothing going on. Like, and this is
Right.
what we learned from.
Right.
Unfortunately, we screwed up the spreadsheet. We'll fix that for you, Dean. And as soon as the ladies fix that, we'll post it so that you have the actual running tab. And remember, this is some of you asked me about the spreadsheet too.
Get rid of it right now.
This is okay. This is designed down the bottom to accumulate master numbers. So all this goofy stuff that your tactical brain says, well, I got confused. Well, why did you get confused? Go to sheet 1. That's the telemarketer. You hire another one. That's sheet 2. You give leads to an agent. That's sheet 3. And they all accumulate to master numbers. So if you want to go in and you want to look at any one of these particular sheets, that's what they are. And you can work with it. You should.
Danny, could I get clarification on that 10% to
Yeah.
15?
Yeah.
Is that per shift?
No,
during the
that's for
week?
the week.
That's
What is that?
for the week.
Okay.
Yep. Excellent question.
10%.
Can we get those
Okay,
numbers
the
up on
admin is
the
gone.
Facebook page?
Definitely, Lee. We just have to fix it. I'm showing them now, a little bit here. Oh, she did. Never
No,
mind.
remember, she was just rambling off.
They're right here in front of you. So you can see. Oh, hold on. Listen to me for 1 second. Live conversations to dial accumulated over the entire time we've tracking this is 8%. Okay. It's 8%. So when you look at some of these things, right, there's it fluctuates. So she can have some shitty weeks, but we're running at 8% and it's working. So now, those numbers, now that we took some of the admin stuff away on the weeks where that probably hurt those metrics, right? So we really, and this is incumbent upon the two of you to weekly look at this and
I'm always
and
looking at it.
fight for those. No, but together, because I need the report. How can I help?
Right.
What insight can I add when you explain to me what you two see? Because when you came to me and said, we got her stuff in packages and it killed her, so I took her off. I'm like, bravo, right call.
Mhm.
And you were calling for it anyway because you see your metrics going. You're like, what am I doing here? Every time you have me stuffing on, I get it. I wanted you to stuff them in the beginning to get connected to it.
Oh, I like
Like,
it.
you know
love
what I
that.
mean? Like when you were doing this,
I love the CMA.
you were really getting connected to real estate and
Mhm.
what it meant.
Mhm.
So I still think there's benefit from time to time to do some of them and stay connected to the body of what this is. Because when it goes to them as a DIY kit and you follow up, you're in deep now.
Yeah, and I'm still doing them once in a while.
Yeah,
I mean,
good.
I did
Yeah,
one a couple
good.
days ago, but mostly I'm handing them over because I'm trying to get to a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I have a very fat pipeline right now.
Got it. In fact, you forgot you have a listing presentation for me for Friday night. And so now we're looking at those things to confirm it. Our biggest problem, y'all, right now is 274 people in a pipeline. Monetize that at the low end because most of what she's getting has a 5 or 4 in front of it, but I'm going to monetize it at a low end of 10 grand. That's 2.7 more, he said, 2.74 million in potential gross commission income. So what I'm saying is I have never been able to show you all or myself or my team an attachment monetarily to something.
Well, I'm
But-
just, I'm
But
just,
now we don't want that big of a number if it's not real. If it's real and it begins to spit out consistently big fat
Well,
checks,
that's what's-
we will reinvest some of the
Right.
money by hiring more help. You follow me? And there's the answer to you about, forget the agent business today, because it's about the core growth of the listings machine that is the business
Mhm.
foundation. Now, coming out the back end is the total fruition, and you see it steadily coming. You buy the people help that you need. If it's more telemarketing, it's more telemarketing. If it's more client care, it's more client care.
Mhm.
Whatever it is, it will be, in fact, the system will scream. But to be smart about it, you go in and look at the 274 and you clean up your act as a 3 strategist team. You say, okay, we're turning you loose immediately. Go deeper. If you don't hear, because you've come off that phone, go, he'll do what I tell him to do.
Mhm.
I'm like, okay, you know what it sounds like
Mhm.
with your trained ear. I know what I see when I go in the house.
Mhm.
Like I've called you back like, this guy's tough. Bless you. But he was early and it was beautiful, but he wasn't pliable. He wasn't
Not
teachable
teachable.
and he wasn't motivated.
Right.
Right. So we know early on, even from your stuff, which makes me sick because I want so badly for you to get the taste of that back end regularly, but you got to be patient and you got to see it coming. And now it's coming.
Well, it needs to be higher than 8%. I didn't realize that it was 8%
Yeah.
overall.
So, but I think if you go
Yeah.
back and look
I
back,
knew you were going to say that, and I wanted to comment.
come on.
I'm so thrilled, honestly, for this spreadsheet in specific that we're starting a new year, because now we're gonna be able to really define, add those tags, permission, no permission, and take the admin without. So I think very quickly we're gonna be able to see your true efforts
Okay.
laid out into 220 or 2020.
Right.
I mean, because there's a lot of those. I think that number is low for you
Mhm.
because of what we mistakenly gave you to do.
Okay. Because see, that's 2% too low.
Okay, good. Well, good. See, like, okay, so we woke up the telemarketer in you, but I think she has a point. Be patient with
Yeah.
the refinement.
Yeah. I mean, we started in the middle of the year. We started in April or something.
Be patient with the refinements
Yeah.
of the thing because it works. Just be patient with
Yeah.
it because you know what you want. That's great. That's wonderful. And now we go in instead of talking theory and we go at it. But the great news, like she said about numbers, is now together, don't let a week go by without assessing the activities that took place in here when you were here.
Mhm.
What were the real activities? Well, you're great at being organized. Take some notes. Like, Laura, I was thinking when I was doing this, I kind of got sidetracked on this, or it went down the hill here, or maybe I was not getting as many people, here. You know what I mean? Become more observant of
your job.
Sometimes my job though is very slow, and sometimes I have a very low dial count because I spend a lot of time. This is something I'm noticing. I spend a lot of time looking for people in my in my.
Everybody hear that? Everybody who hung in there got a little nugget. Because I will actually, yeah, I'm going to repeat this because I think it's a really big deal, but it's a good thing about you. But let me go there because I'm going to tell you you're making money because of it. The Gaties. I'm going to explain this to him. So interesting. You should bring it up at the end of the call because I'm going to lean in on it. I think that oftentimes early on, I was studying which expired company gave the best quality data. For that very reason, I didn't want you wasting time calling into bad data. Okay. But the thing that you taught me as a hustler in telemarketing was this fastpeoplesearch.com. Okay.
I need to send them a thank
Well,
you.
no doubt. So what you said is fastpeoplesearch.com becomes a supplement. I think the poor man's or poor woman's technique would be pull from every morning from MLS, what you're paying for, and use Fast People Search and try to find who you can find. Put in 2 hours worth of looking, calling.
That's what you're seeing.
So I think that's a good thing.
Okay.
Here's why. Data is not ever perfect. And if we stop at the data, well, that number sucked, throw it out. And we don't take one extra beat like this Fast People Search thing here, you might have missed how to be completely different because nobody else could reach them. You follow me? Like I went into the Gaties and what she said to me was, I don't know really how she found me because she called my daughter-in-law.
Fast People Search.
Fast People Search is exactly what I thought in my head. There's an example
Nobody knows
of going the extra mile, finding somebody that was related to the somebody who put you in touch with the right somebody. And we went in against only somebody who her brother through BNI had referred. So there was no other competition. It wasn't a cattle call other than they were just going to blindly go with the referral.
Fast People Search does that for me all the time.
So there's where
I get their cell phone.
There's where I think that extra 2% is going. And there's a perfect example. And that's a real good listing where I see monetization at 15 grand. If we double ended, it's, even, different. I'd still pay you on the 3%, both of you. Right. But you're talking 15,000 gross event from which we all get our pieces. Right. All because you took an extra sales admin step, and you didn't just take it at face value.
Okay, as long as
Which
that's
I'm
okay.
so guilty of. When I was calling expireds, wrong number, buy, delete.
Because
because
that's the tactician in us. And that's
sure.
because you're the wrong person doing the right job.
And
now, when it comes to follow-up, I came in the other day and she says, oh my God, she was so good with Delia on the phone because she's like me, did the piece. And now it takes the real patient on board. You know what I mean?
Well, we're more evangelical. Get in, get out.
For sure.
But I forgot.
All right. Anyway, any final questions here? You got the point here today. I hope that this is what we're working on in the business across, look at, if I can get Autumn some luxury buyers in Boston and we can equally go get one of those $2 million influx like that, I'm working on that too. I'm only going to put in front of my people the best quality marketing stuff I can, extract from. Right. And that's why we have David Ali Bud culling the list before it even gets to these two, where he's taking out the lowest end price ranges because Vulcan, I guess, doesn't have a system to do that.
No, Vulcan only sends us the price ranges we want.
Okay. So what's Bud doing then?
So the leads we get, because the data is pulled by the contract numbers that are in MLS.
Yeah.
So oftentimes they're active, they're
Got
under
it. Got it.
So they have to be cross-checked.
Got it. Okay, got it. There you go. All right, questions, thoughts.
You're gonna update that spreadsheet for 2020?
Yeah, I will. Yeah, that's a good point. He makes a good point there. Can you make these notes, please? We're going to need to know a differentiation between probates, expireds, and FSBOs at least. That's one we're clear of now because now this is a whole, developed out system. Don't sweat this. Trust me that
I'm fine on that one. But within my system in Mojo, I need even more tags. It's frustrating.
Okay. Well, that's a good.
Today.
Yeah. Okay. Hold on. So there's those three.
I have a question.
Yeah. Hang on. Stay right there and I'll take it. So those are the three things that definitely need to be separated up for, because we need to know the packages and the differentiation, because you're going to wait her time.
Yeah.
Like where
So wait, probate's expired.
FISBA.
FISBA.
Yeah, because I want the whole system built out. Shame on us as a group that if we don't go after, like you just said with your reaction as a rookie to real estate, but a telemarketer, the obvious. Go do the obvious stuff first until you've exhausted it, right?
Yeah.
Fair enough?
Yeah.
Okay, so the over the net, evaluation for us is not the obvious. Anybody doing it well, like Brad Howard with his postcard, wonderful, fabulous, got no problem with it, right? But I'm just saying we need to, in this group, be cognizant that immediately and forever, there will be real conversations available by just acquiring that information, supplementing it with tools like Fast People Search, getting packages out the door. There's nobody in this group that cannot have some level of success doing that. I would say with 99% certainty. I'll leave
Are they using
a point.
Fast People Search? Are you guys using Fast People Search?
Anybody using Fast People Search in addition to what they use for data?
We do. No.
Oh,
Okay.
Yes, I'm using Fast People Search.
good.
John,
I can't recommend
Fast
it.
People Search
I
on
can't.
all the probates and all of the expireds, and
Okay,
then gives them to Rebecca.
Awesome.
good, Gail.
Yeah.
How is that to Spokio? How is that compared to Spokio?
No.
What's the
Spoke-
physical
no.
They're
difference?
they're both about the same.
No, they're not.
Hold on, you're about to get killed. Go
No,
ahead.
they're not. Spokio is going to send you the wrong direction. Fast People Search, you put in their name, you put in their city and state, and you're going to get their wireless phone number. That's all there is to it. There is no comparison.
Okay.
It has to be Fast
Here-
Don't
People
always
Search.
do it, though.
But
Yes,
hold,
I do.
hold on. Here's what I'm going to say. This is my problem if you do what we do. If not, I can't answer for Spokio. We don't use it. Okay.
No.
So
But
I'm good if you have luck with something else, but I'm just saying what we're saying, right? That's all I can vouch for, because that's all I have metrics for. Okay. I got it. I hear you, Lee. I'm only going to vouch for what we're doing. We don't use Spokio. Heather, you, like my mother used to say, do what you are told, right? I need you to have it be my problem. Lee has been around. They got what they got, and I'm not going to get in an argument with him because I love him, and he's been sick and he's weakened.
Love that,
He's,
Daddy.
yeah, he's in a weakened. Lee's in a weakened state, so I'm not going to pick a fight with him. He's
I'm
recovering.
back, man.
He's recovering from the. Yeah, you've been way too quiet for a month. There's been no shit disturber. I mean, Dean's been even soft. Dean's actually put his ADD aside and started to do business, right? And this bastard, like, you know what? This guy, all he does is he brings in his entrepreneurial ADD and then quietly did how many millions in sales, you jerk?
Don't worry about it.
Yeah, don't worry. Forget it. Now he's Joe. Yeah, now he's Joe Pesci too.
I missed my goal.
I missed my goal.
I missed my goal.
Well, let me just say this.
30 million.
It's over 20 million. Okay, the jerk, right?
It's just short of 30 million, which is what my goal was.
Yeah.
I gotta do
Wow.
the numbers.
So don't
It's
fall
like
for-
20,
so don't fall for-
27, low 29.
Don't anybody fall for his crap. He loves to play stupid, and then he goes out and executes.
Wow.
Right?
I love that. Good
Yeah.
job.
That's
Yeah.
unbelievable. Congratulations.
Yeah. He didn't tell you he sold his own house for $22 million though. So
No, but listen, we did drop the price on that one monster down to probably 5 million.
yeah, but Dean,
Didn't go yet.
Dean, you make my case for me about like saying focused on the right, geographic and price range avatar. You make my case for me. I mean, I don't know what else to say other than there's case in point, right? So.
And I don't have noticeable market share yet, so I haven't even put a dent. in
Oh, for
what
sure.
the possibilities
Oh, for sure. Neither have we. I mean, Laura and I were talking about that, about growth today. Last night we had these two ladies with sports for hanging in here. We had our Christmas party last night, and everybody's a little bit tired, especially Laura.
I'm more than tired.
Yeah, but we're enthusiastic, Dean, about like the certainty that this has brought us.
Mhm.
So we actually really see a much clearer path to growth at the moment, right? Fair enough.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just getting my ADD.
Okay. Anyway, there we go. Well,
Yes,
we
see bigger.
we-
Yeah, for
Here's
sure.
the bottom line. If you just go from A to B to C to D and don't mix up the process, you're going to make money.
I agree.
And
Amen.
you can't drop A and jump to B. You have to do each step and you need to put in effort. There's no effort that goes unrewarded.
Here's the deal. Let me just say this. Okay. Here's the deal. We have still a shit ton of people who say they're doing expireds. You go listen to one of their calls with some whacked out script, no mention of a package, and they're still saying the same bullshit to me. I will root out every one of you one by one to say, you keep giving yourself lip service that you want a business that generates listings at the right price, and you don't follow a yellow brick road that we're all trying to develop together. Why not? You got to look in the mirror and say, you might need a shrink, and it's not me. Right? I mean, honestly,
no effort.
that gravitational pull to be tactical, I won't let up. I'll keep making it better. I'll keep transparently showing you what we struggle with, what we don't. Okay. I'll leave you with one funny story, what struggle looks like. And I'll leave you with this. Cape Cod is one market. Okay. So we've gotten these listings and now we have a challenge of turning them over because Cape Cod's difficult. So we've decided, the three of us, to really understand Boston better. And I'm telling you, the number one problem we have in Boston is ourselves, because we had a fuck you attitude to snobs, that when people look down the end of their nose at us snobs. Or ask, and they are snobs, and it's a regular snob call. We talked about in here about being patient and elevating our game to another level, of a higher level of each of us, to not go there, to learn, to not swear at them too. And I'm going to tell you about a story where we swore at somebody, right? Kind of, but she's diligently pursuing people in downtown Boston the same way. She calls from her cell phone the other night. She gets a call back on her own cell phone at 4 a.m. And
for Domino's Pizza.
Whatever the heck she's doing up at 4 o'clock in the morning, being an insomniac.
They woke me up.
They woke her up. She answers it, and they asked for Domino's Pizza. Tell them the rest of the story.
So I knew that it was the classic telemarketing payback call. You telemarketed me, so I'm going to call you and wake you up at 3:45 in the morning and ask for Domino's Pizza. So I said to the woman, when I first said hello, she hung up. Then she called me back, woke me up again, and asked for Domino's Pizza. And I said, who are you looking for? And she said, I think I've made myself perfectly clear who I'm looking for. And so then I literally didn't say a word. And I went inside and I said, okay, discern this call. Is this woman just being a bitch? And she's trying to do a payback telemarketing call. And I discerned that's what she was doing. And I said, don't call her. Or I said something like, I literally told her. And remember, she didn't know I was from Griffin. But I literally said to her, I said, no, you're a bitch. Don't call again. And I hung up. Now, here's the end of the story. The next day, I made sure I had her phone number taped to my desk somewhere so that when it came up, I could identify this person. It did come up. I happened to see the number and I realized, oh my God, this is a Boston lead. So I went and looked. I had looked up on my cell phone that I had called her at 11:20 a.m. The day, of the day that she made the 3:45 phone call. So it wasn't like I was calling at dinner time. Anyway, I had called the next morning and said to her something like, I left a message saying, I don't know why you called a businesswoman to do that, but you're probably ruining a lot of opportunities for yourself. So now I'm at work. I find her lead. I look at her condo. It's drop dead gorgeous. And Laura and I are scratching our heads saying, how could someone who owns a property like that be so strange? So I called her. The first thing she said was, is this the lady that left me the message this morning? And I said, yes, it is. And she said, I am so sorry. And we started to talk. I said, that's perfectly okay. I understand. And I sent her a package. And she's probably going to be our first step into Boston.
So the moral of the story was, we sat and we talked about it, and it was an opportunity to get over the fact that, look, it is what it is. You want to go and play a bigger game. You're going to deal with a different avatar. Some of these people are mega wealthy. Yeah. They have been around since the revolutionary days, or new money, either or. And they have either birthed their way up the socioeconomic ladder or earned their way, and they want to be treated differently. They want to talk downhill at people because it makes them feel good, even when they don't mean it. So that requires a whole different skill set, and you have to elevate. And this is why a lot of you won't do luxury, because you say that same quip that we've said. oh, they're snobs and, that's not me. Yes, it is you as a business person. It is you. Don't give me that crap from your tactical perspective because I gave myself that crap. It's not right. You're damn right you want to list a $5 million property on my watch. If not, I'm going to come to your marketplace and tase you in the ass. Okay. Of course you do, because we just closed one at 1.25 today, picked up a check, gross check for X number. And it was the nicest transaction I have had in a long time. And when I went to your listing presentation that you got me where we just listed the 1.35, that guy and his wife were as nice as anybody could be. Now, are there sometimes you have to break somebody through that insecurity and that nonsense because they're in their business mode? That lady's calling you drunk at night because she's been divorced. I don't know. But I don't care. I don't care because I want into that conversation. I want to be the one that says, I don't care what socioeconomic background you come from. We are fabulous strategists at real estate, and you need this stuff, whether you want me or not. And you have to get there, no matter how tired you are, no matter when they call you, you have to be hungry.
I don't know. I did use the word bitch at 3:45 in the morning, but you know what? The apology she gave me was very sincere, and we now have a good rapport. She knows that I'm not fooling around, that I'm not going to be abused. And when I did that, I didn't expect it to go on any longer. She had no idea who I represented. So Griffin said, because I had to ask myself, I had to count that cost. And I realized before I told her how I felt that she didn't know we were Griffin. But now, like I say, I think her guilt is gonna get us.
Nothing wrong with that because it's the law. Hold on. It's the law of reciprocity. Okay. It's the law of reciprocity. I owe you something back because you gave me the gift of what? Persistence and patience. I know you called me a bitch, blah, blah, blah. Who cares? I called you at 4 a.m. and woke you out of bed. Okay. Exactly. So let's call that what it is. But you have now given me the gift of persistence. You've given me the gift that there's something in it for me. Yes. And I'm going to give you the gift back of a chance.
Right.
How good does that get? Isn't that this is what I keep trying to explain to you. That's why I want to bring up this anecdote. I know the call's long today, but this is everything. This is it. This is the entirety of what we do differently these days. And without it, you are 100% throwing away. Forget about like what you said to her. How about all of us? What opportunity have we been throwing away by not truly obsessing over what's in it for them? And no matter how much abuse we take in the beginning to fight to get them the triage package, at least changes everything.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, everybody, listen, tomorrow, do you have any recorded calls that I can go to while this is fresh on our minds?
For tomorrow?
Yeah.
I'm sure.
I'm gonna get you a couple.
Okay. Yeah, but I want to start with hers since this is such a good in-depth call with you all. I would love to, have some of her stuff. So to see how close are we to the script? How far does she go with talent? Really want to I want to sit back and all of us maybe hear a couple of hers to just see where they go. I'm going to let you choose. You can highlight what you want to highlight, and we'll go from there. Cool.
They're going to be probates.
I do have a question.
Yep.
I have a burning question, Danny. So I'm real good at the technician aspect of it. I'm trying to get up towards the entrepreneur. So my question is, what questions should I be asking about the business vision from the entrepreneurial perspective?
Well, I think you should keep it simple. I think you should work upwards because your strength has always been, you've been a fantastic technician. You've birthed yourself to become a great strategist because you've fought for it. Every time you snapped back and you tactic shopped, going back to the days, I remember probably one of the worst moments in my mind's eye when you're trying to break through is when you went with that, what was that zip thing? What was it called again?
Spark Zip.
Yeah. So you had to snap back there hard. You fell for that kind of stuff. That was a poignant moment for me, I think, in my work with you. And you got through that and recognized that decisions should not be made impetuously, that we should seek, the pushback of me and other people in this group. We shouldn't be looking for corroborating evidence. You changed that. And so I think what you have to see is that you've gotten up the ladder towards the vision for a more systematic process. Now look back down and say, If the vision that we all share is a business that is based on systems that are predictable, look back down at everything you do. I'm telling you right now, okay, I'm talking about a system we're thrilled about, but I'm telling you right now, there's parts of our closing process, like we just put up a sign at a property. I don't know that we got a sold rider up. I definitely know we didn't get a picture of our sold sign in front of that property. That's a lack of a system where we rely on everyone, on everything to be a system. So as I look down, hoping that I'm having a business that's run by all systems, I recognize that as an opportunity. It's not a problem. It's nothing wrong. We have a lot going here, but we know that there's an example of where we have to go and optimize that, right? So I think it's not, don't put yourself under pressure at the end of a year to say, oh, this thing. No, don't do that. Evaluate from an owner or visionary's perspective, how predictably running is this business? I mean, is anything that we do predictable? I am telling you that this is an example. And by the way, in my past client module, it's extremely predictable. I know that every quarter something's going to happen. I know that every month something is going to happen. I know these things are happening and we're ironing out the kinks there, right? Like right now, I'm well overdue to do the market update on video. Okay. So I'll knock that thing out. We'll get it done and we'll catch up, but we make them more and more and more predictable, right? Because we figure out where we're not systematic. So I would say it's not so much of you're not there. It's just so much you like how often you get way up above even the strategist and say, is this business being built upon systems that are memorialized? Because that's what this visionary, shares. Every one of you in this group, we want a more predictable business. That's the vision. Okay. Simple. It's in your book from the conference. It's a definition we all share. We just don't go back. Let's just say you did a quarterly as an owner, right? I think that's probably a pretty good time since Wall Street reports like that publicly to all the shareholders. Quarterly reports are a big deal. So I would look down and say, did we get more predictable? Did we get more steady? Did certain things rely less on me? Are there more people doing more things? I think those types of questions quarterly would help you. But I wouldn't put my pressure under myself to have some big beat down personally at the end of the year. I think that's dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
And we can talk about it more one-on-one.
All right.
Cool.
We'll just look back down on our system and fine-tune our system.
Well, just ask yourself, do you have a more predictable, more systematic business? Period. Just ask yourself. Okay. And the way that the visionary does, it's almost like you're asking the general manager to walk down the modules. Am I predictable and consistent in marketing? Am I predictable and consistent in conversion? Am I predictable and consistent in closing? Am I predictable and consistent in past client? Look, Laura and I are fully aware. We have a fabulous technician who helps us in closing, Randy. But is that consistent, predictable, and memorialized as a system? No. And we have things that we've done strategically. So in 2020, one of the goals that she and I have talked about is getting Randy more empowered to become like the Laura of closing. What can we do that's more predictable, right? What can we do that's more systematic? So that's how we do it.
Gotcha.
Okay.
And we're growing in that direction big time with just documenting everything we do.
You've come
right down to websites.
You've come a long way. Yeah, if I were you, I'd get up above my business and applaud myself first for becoming more. But you had a bigger vision than you think you did. You're not a passive participant in this mastermind. That proves that you're a visionary. You're not passive.
That's good to hear.
Yeah, well, you're not passive. That's why I'm saying sometimes it takes me to validate you. Any of you as a visionary, you would not be committed to this body of work that is tripolar, right? And we're beginning to learn, I'm beginning to learn as a guide what I just did here today. I'm telling you, thank you, David Goggins. You helped me realize that tactical is a birthright. It's survival. So we all are stuck there to begin with from birth. It's not what type of personality you are. We're born there. And the idea of creative imagination to help us thrive, that's what Thursdays are for, to think, to create together, to move up. And then I think the vision is, all right, is it becoming more predictable as a business? Is it a good business? Is it something you'd invest in because it's predictable, right? We're getting there. We have a long way to go, but we're getting there.
Awesome.
Yep. Good job. All right, everybody. Listen, I'm going to roll it. Thank you. That was a long one, but really important. You work with me one-on-one, and tomorrow we will have some real calls from Autumn, and we'll go from there. Okay? Have a good afternoon.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Yep. Take care, everybody.
Okay, thanks.
Yep. You bet, Fahad.